Hey everyone, Rutledge here. We are at Techweek 2015 in Chicago, Illinois. I'm here with Jordan Jacobs from SingleHop, which is a hosting company here in the Chicago area. Jordan, I had a couple questions in general about the cloud, how it works, and then I wouldn't mind hearing a little bit about some of the gaming initiatives that you guys have going on.
Sure,
and one of the fun questions that I like to start cloud talks off with is, what do you think the biggest misconception about the cloud is?
I think the first start there is just the word. Cloud's not something that you buy or something that you go to or something that you drive an initiative to. Cloud is an idea, is a kind of a concept, a way of doing business. It's not just one product. The problem is that there are big players in the cloud. And those big players are the ones that you normally think of, and you think of their kind of product as the cloud. And the best example I always give is one of the first big cloud players was Salesforce. And I can't deploy a server on Salesforce.
No.
It's just a piece of software. It's SaaS that runs in the cloud, but they're the cloud company. And Amazon has the same problem, Microsoft has the same problem, Google has the same problem. Everybody says, I'm going to the cloud. But really what they need to do is they need to say, okay, I'm going to be deploying something in this kind of concept. I need to understand what my application is, what its needs are, and then look at the right business model or the right product that kind of fits in this broad scope of things.
Yeah. So it's not a product, it's more of a business model that, that companies should be looking at as an idea, not to say, we're going to go to the cloud, because that really means nothing.
Nothing at all.
You want to look at your applications, you want to look at exactly what it is you want from a hosted solution.
Correct, absolutely.
I guess the follow-up question for that would be, what do you think, if a company is looking to move to the cloud, what is the first thing that they should probably be thinking about?
So the first thing is to look at the application itself. If it's a software as a service application, congratulations, you're already there. Then you got to ask yourself a couple questions. The first one is, how many VMs, how many deployments do I actually need of this? A lot of times it's one, a lot of times it's 50.
Yeah.
Looking at there and then saying, is it going to stay online all the time? That's really one of the biggest questions. Is this something that I'm going to utilize all this cool stuff everybody talks about with auto scaling? Because guess what? Your accounting system, you're not auto scaling. I don't even know how you would even consider auto scaling an accounting system. So you really got to say, is this staying online all the time? And if it is, then the next piece is looking at the business models. This is kind of what we were talking about today in the session that I find really interesting is this kind of allocation reservation conversation. If it's if it's something that's going to stay online all day long, you're really looking for something that's more like a private cloud. If it's something that's going to auto scale and geographically disperse and spin up and spin down, and that's a great use for the public cloud. But it's really figuring out what the application is and where the right fit for it is and the different types of products that are in the cloud.
And you discussed a little bit about the allocation model versus the reservation model. You want to explain those two just a little bit?
Sure. So the shortest way to understand them is you ask yourself a question. You say, if I add another application, does my cost go up? If you add an application and your cost goes up, the perfect example is the public cloud. Adding an application, let's say it has 3 VMs, and the VMs are $200 each, adds $600 extra dollars. Mm-hmm. The only way I save $600 is by turning off that application. That's an allocation model. Where that is really great, like I said, is if stuff is spinning up and down all the time because you can kind of pay minutely and it works out great. The reservation model is where you have unlimited VMs, you pay for a pool of resources, and your costs don't go up as you add applications. So it might be, okay, I pay $2,000 a month and that is my whole infrastructure. And I add, everything's great. Next year, I have to add an extra $1,000 a month because my entire pool gets bigger. So that's really the way I describe the differences.
So essentially, allocation, you spin up server, extra cost for each server.
Exactly.
Whereas the reservation, you're paying for a certain amount of resources across a number of servers.
Correct, absolutely.
Cool. What do you see as one of the biggest security flaws when it comes to some of the private hosting options?
Sure. So I think there are there's different ways of deploying private clouds, obviously, in this reservation model. Yeah. So you kind of go cloud at the top, pricing models at the kind of next level, and then you've got products that fit under. there's a lot of companies that offer container solutions that aren't true virtualized systems. Those really, I don't really consider that private. To be private in kind of my world and what we define products, all the resources are 100% dedicated to you. Now there are two ways of doing it from there. There are, we call them dedicated private clouds, where you're on your own switches, your own firewalls, your own servers, everything is yours. There are no flaws with that, candidly. It's compliant, it sits in, while it sits in our data center, and what I would argue is probably a much more secure place. I think ours have 16 different security checkpoints between the outside in.
That's awesome.
You might because it's in our data center, it's the same exact thing you would build on-prem.
Exactly.
So I don't think there's any really thing there. The virtual private clouds, which is a giant multi-tenant environment that logically gets separated and divided, it's been security tested a lot of times. It's by every single security analyst says it's entirely the same thing security-wise. It's hard for some people to kind of get over that. While this core I'm on, this core you're on, they can't talk, but it's hard to kind of get over that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say there's necessarily a security downside, but just from a comfort level, some people prefer one or the other, and that's why at SingleHop we sell both of them.
Yeah. Well, I guess a good example of that too would be web hosting, shared business hosting versus virtual private servers. And the shared, you're sharing a server, which means you're sharing an IP, and if somebody on that server is doing something they shouldn't be, Google's going to know, and it's going to hit you because that's your IP too.
Yes, absolutely.
And we struggle with that. We've switched over to VPS, all that stuff. It's much better. It's less of a headache.
Absolutely.
You guys are doing some stuff in the gaming industry, and from what it sounds like, it's a pretty big chunk of your business.
Yeah, it's a good size.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Maybe explain what you guys are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've always hosted game hosting companies, different initiatives, everything from the developers who are rolling out some of their own products to we have a lot of Minecraft. It's kind of the hottest, fastest growing game right now.
Yeah.
The Microsoft acquisition has actually looked like it's been a really positive thing for the community, which is really awesome. We're really happy to see that actually. What's really interesting is I've been hosting game servers personally for 15 some odd years, and what used to be was all about kernel clock speeds and latency. Everybody was trying to do private VPNs to shave off 5 or 6 milliseconds, which is funny because a human blink is 200 to 300 milliseconds. And so, I was never that good in games that, a tenth of a human blink was throwing me off, but some people are. But it's funny because the conversation is, especially with games like Minecraft, it's less about latency.
Yep.
By all means, we still have all the stuff from the FPS world, the huge network that spans the country and all those things, but and we still track it, but it's become less about the latency, and it's more about uptime and resiliency. Because
the DDoS.
Oh my gosh, DDoSes are incredible now. We actually rolled out a multi-million-dollar protection scheme across our entire infrastructure, and it's actually Minecraft is one of the top growing sides of our business now, and to the point where we trained our reps on it. They know. If you say a creeper to one of our reps, they kind of know what that is. It's not. They're not giving like what?
What are you talking about?
Looking through my window. No, they understand. So it's a big part of our business. We have lots of great conversations, and we can talk at a technical level. Without going too crazy. We analyzed traffic patterns on Minecraft customers specifically, and we found that the vast majority of large-scale DDoSes are all UDP, but Minecraft traditionally doesn't use UDP. And so just by really getting in depth and understanding what our customers do and understanding the technology behind the hosting, we're able to provide just kind of a much better solution than, oh, you're deploying a server, cool. You're putting a game on it? Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are more in depth in understanding how these games are being deployed and what they need security-wise, maybe to offer a better service, because DDoS is, you can pay $100 and get it. I can't think. We've been DDoSed a couple times, and it's not fun.
Yep.
And there's only so much you can do if there's not a whole lot in place for protection.
Yeah, we just turned online one of the top 5 largest Minecraft communities. and there's emails flying around. They're getting hit 2 to 3 times an hour.
Jeez.
And that's just the world we live in today. And so making sure that we keep our network up to speed with that. It's been a major investment, and it's painful. But you just have to do it. That's how we support our customers. And if they're offline, then they're not happy.
Yeah, and I mean, everything's public at this point when it comes to a lot of these servers. So, it's not like 10 years ago when you were just doing it on the LAN for fun.
Exactly.
You've got to worry about it. I mean, Counter-Strike's suffering from it. Dota's suffering from it. A lot of these big gaming esports and communities are really suffering from the DDoSes that are going on. So, we're going to get a little bit more in-depth via email. So check out for a follow-up article on SingleHop's expansion into gaming and how you guys are making a lot of changes to accommodate how the gaming industry is changing along with it.
Absolutely, and I'd love to invite you out to our data center out in Franklin Park in Chicago.
Awesome.
We just built it. It's a $30 million investment from our part, and it'd be cool just to show the viewers where the games are hosted and how it runs and everything.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love that.
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for talking with us. Stay tuned to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and especially YouTube for more Tech Week 2015 coverage.